Listen to me. That is not the Dale Cooper that I knew. It isn't time passing, or how he's changed, or the way he looks. Something here. There's something that definitely isn't here.
Welcome to the Rewatchers in the Lodge, the podcast where we are currently watching Twin Peaks. You're here with me, Tyler Harris, and
Marcus Marinos,
Riley Harris,
Tyler McKinley,
Mitchell Marshall,
Justin Hammer.
And this week, we are discussing 2 more episodes of Twin Peaks. We are in Season 3 of Twin Peaks, and this week we watched Part 6, Don't Die, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch, directed by David Lynch, and originally aired June 11th, 2017. And Part 7, There's a Body, All Right, written by Mark Frost and David Lynch, directed by David Lynch, and originally aired June 18th, 2017, even though I wrote down 2018 and almost just read it as that, which that would be wild.
Awkward.
That would be wild. But don't worry if you haven't seen anything. Here, as always, to regale us with the events of the last 2 episodes is Mitchell Marshall. Mitchell, take it away.
I got you. I have a quick question. Did Mark Frost direct any in the original 2 seasons?
Yes.
He did? Okay.
Yeah.
I just wondering if he ever directed.
I believe episodes, the Season 1, Episode 7?
Oh,
maybe?
that's the important one.
Something. Yeah, one in there. So,
all right, here we go for reals. This is what happened in Twin Peaks, The Return, episodes 6 and 7. Dougie Cooper struggles to communicate with the Popo. They finally get him home where he has a sandwich and gets a clapper lesson. The Loan Shark people have an envelope with a picture of Dougie and Jade, then call with more threats. Naomi Watts sets up a meeting. The streetlight is back. One-armed Mike is trying to will Cooper awaken Dougie from the Black Lodge. Sparkles guide Dougie to draw ladders and squiggles, etc. on a waiver in his case files. Albert goes into a bar and sees, holy shit, it's Diane, a.k.a. Laura Dern, a.k.a. the hero of The Last Jedi. A cokehead and a fan of The King and I chat about expectations. They exchange a magic dime a couple of times. I have no idea what's going on in that scene. Carl and the Trailer Park Boys smoke in the back of a van on the way somewhere. At the Double R, a pie-loving teacher giggles her way through a pointless scene, or so I thought. Carl watches a mother and son play at the park. Young cokehead runs a stop sign on the wrong side of the road and plows through the sun. Giggly Pie Girl is a witness. Carl sees a beam of light rise into the sky, and a crowd watches as the mother holds her son's dying body. What is this, Game of Thrones? We see the number 6 on an electric pole, and the buzz of electricity grows louder. Cops start to remove Dougie's blown-up car. Mama Crackhead says 119 again. A buff little person rolls dice and records the numbers. Then an envelope with photos of Dougie and an unknown woman gets pushed under the motel room door, and he stabs the photos. Dougie gets chewed out for just scribbling on his work, but then it turns out there might be something useful in the pattern of squiggles. Naomi Watts meets with the Boogie Goons and gives the genius nervous guy from Lost $25,000 and a nice speech about interest rates. The little buff guy runs into a woman's office and stabs her violently many times, then runs after a witness to do the same, but bends his screwdriver in the meantime. Darn. Cokehead child murderer tries to wash little boy remnants off of his truck grill. Hawk drops a dime and notices a loose bathroom stall open door panel with a Native American person on it. That's the connection to his heritage. And then Chad, the little bitch, threatens to tattle on him. Inside, Hawk finds a letter or pages from a diary. Mrs. Sheriff, a.k.a. Doris, makes a scene about her father's car. We find out Sheriff's son killed himself, and Chad makes fun of him. Yeah, he is a little bitch. Just die, Chad. In the woods, Jerry calls Ben from his iPhone. He is lost. He might be high. He might have had his car stolen. We don't know. Hawk shows Sheriff the pages where Laura says she is Annie and Good Cooper is with Laura in the Black Lodge. That was wrong?
That she is Annie?
They put some puzzle pieces together. Sheriff calls Harry Truman for advice. Trailer park guy, not named Carl, plans to meet Andy 2 hours, but begs him to leave his current place. Sheriff Truman arranges to Skype Doc Hayward. He describes the day he treated Coop after he got out of the lodge. Lieutenant Knox comes in to inquire about the fingerprint search from the police department that found the headless corpse in South Dakota. She calls her superior. It's Major Briggs' prince/maybe body, but the wrong age. Gordon, Cole, and Albert meet Diane. She has zero interest in talking about Coop, but then she suddenly has interest in talking about Coop. So at her home, she just keeps being a bitch and telling them to fuck off, and then gets on a plane to good old South Dakota. They examine Coop's prints, which seem off. Look at the only photo of Coop from the last 25 years, and it looks like he's in Miami Vice. Diana quizzes Cooper on the last time they saw each other. He seems to know, but then she asks who he is. She tells Gordon it's not who she knew, but it's not time or age, it's what's in his heart. Evil Cooper asks to meet with the warden, keyword strawberry. Andy waits on the side of the road. The warden meets Mr. C, holds him at gunpoint. Mr. C seems to have blackmail on him. He asks for a car with a gun and Greg Monroe. Remember the dog legs. No idea what that shit means. Dougie gets a visit from some detectives, including the sports anchor from Anchorman. Naomi Watts helps him explain that his car was stolen. As they walk out, the little buff man attacks them, and Cooper's instincts lead Dougie to act like a cobra and stop the guy from shooting him. Naomi Watts attempts a chokehold. At the Great Northern, Ben Horn and Ashley Judd try to find a very annoying tuning fork. She shows him the key that came in the mail. He recognizes it as Cooper's room key from years ago. Ashley Judd heads home to her extremely sick husband, Tom. At the Roadhouse, David Lynch forgot to book a band, so Hodor, a.k.a. Jacques' relative, watches a guy sweep for 10 straight minutes, and then he talks on the phone about a deal for a couple of 15-year-old straight-A blonde whores. Mr. C gets let out of prison, and the double R is poppin'.
Hey.
Yeah, very good. A lot of stuff. I was like, oh man, with 2 episodes and like the scenes are so long, this will be a snap, but a lot of shit still happens somehow.
In those scenes, I'm like, I'm going to try and skip over some menial things, but then some things are either too interesting or I'm just like, this might not be menial.
It's true.
We're going to do it.
Yeah, where do you guys want to start? What compelled you?
That fucking bar scene pissed me off so much.
He just swept in such an
sweeping the
inefficient
floor.
pattern.
I'm going to be honest. I really like that scene.
Oh my gosh! I'm thinking, why doesn't this guy have a push broom? Just come on.
I
Get this
really
done in,
was like, I hope
10
they didn't
seconds.
make this guy do multiple takes. Like,
Oh, I'm sure they didn't.
all right, spread it everywhere. Let's go.
I'm going to tell you why I like that scene. Because to me, it feels like a very clear turning point where we are in the series, because this is one of the only episodes where it hasn't ended at the Roadhouse, and the Roadhouse is usually packed and there's usually a band playing. But now we see it and it's just empty, and they're kind of sweeping it up. And the episode ends at the Double R Diner.
True.
So it feels like a turning point to me. I don't know.
True. I will say, so the episodes before this that we watched, there is one other episode that doesn't end at the.
Which one
the
was it?
Roadhouse.
Because I
It's
know
the
there was
one,
a few others. Or only
episode
one.
part 5. It ends with Cooper at the statue,
Right,
And that's where
right.
part 6 starts again. But yes, that's the
But there is a band in that
the
episode.
lion's
isn't
share
there?
of episodes. I believe so.
I feel like there's a band in every episode
I
besides this.
was
one.
Yeah, I
so
think you're probably
pumped
right.
to see Sharon Van Etten in
God,
episode.
yeah, it's such a
6.
good. That's like one of my favorite performances for sure. One of my favorite Roadhouse scenes. Yeah, she's wonderful. Yeah, man, what a long scene. I love it.
I just started swaying back and forth. Oh, I do have a question about the closing scene at the Double R. Someone shouts something like,
I had subtitles on. I
Bobby?
think he says
Billy?
well, here's what the subtitles said. Closed captions. I don't know if they're correct. Has anybody here seen Bing? B-I-N-G.
Chandler Bing!
I don't think that's right.
They're talking about the search engine. Nobody's fucking using it. Has anyone seen it?
Yeah, if you
I'm
turn the
worried about
subtitles
Bing.
up, it says Google : has anybody seen Bing? Lots of people are asking me about Bing. Who the fuck is Bing?
Do you know what he says?
He says, anybody seen Billy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's what I
the name.
Fucking closed captions.
What's
Who knows how much of the episode I got wrong?
What's the name of the decrepit ginger who is dating Amanda Seyfried?
The actor or the character?
Oh,
character.
gosh. I don't remember.
I can find
This is
it.
the most bonkers thing about this like season to me is like it's more apparent how it feels like an 18-hour long movie. With these episodes, it started to like feel more that way because man, there's characters that have been introduced that we've seen once and we haven't seen again. Who I imagine we will see again.
Yeah. We haven't seen Matthew Lillard for a while.
Yeah.
And he was like
So
this really
true.
compelling,
The whole
like,
thing
story.
with Diane was like introduced 3 episodes ago, and there was like nothing, and then there was like one small thing in the one episode.
yeah, she just turns around and says, "Hi, Albert." Like, that's
Yeah.
all you get of Diane.
And so it's very interesting how it's done. It feels super different than anything I've seen on TV because of that alone.
yeah, for sure.
The character's name is Stephen
Steven,
Burnett.
that's
Burnett.
It's not Billy.
Burnett.
Not Billy.
Probably Burnett.
right.
Burnout.
So yeah,
Stephen Burnout.
That's really interesting. I feel like this is like one of those episodes where we see more background people than we're accustomed to seeing in Twin Peaks normally as well. Like the double R scene, the scene in the road with the kid. You get a lot of
Quality acting.
long shots of some real background.
Dude, that guy from the...
My favorite's the guy in the truck when he's just like
yeah.
Yeah, that
puts his
was pretty
hand to his
bad.
face because he's so
And
disappointed.
Every single move that he made, I was like, wow.
the guy with his girlfriend, he's just like, he's got that grimace on his face, like he just ate something sour.
Yeah, it's not
Oh,
great.
He could have been
So-
his own little bad short film.
Tell me if I'm wrong about that scene. That is the same intersection where Mike confronted Leland and Laura in Fire Walk with Me, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
For
good
sure.
catch. Did not see that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's meaningful at all, but there we are.
mean, that's any of it is, yeah.
And I mean, is this? I guess there's some sort of confirmation of a soul in this universe in this scene, right?
It
Something,
seems like
yeah.
the little boy's spirit went up.
Like there is somewhere that spirits go, or
Yeah.
whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's our electrical energy.
There
that
was-
just
there
gets
was-
absorbed
Yeah.
into
This
the
was
nearest
definitely-
telephone.
There was
pole.
like a electrical lines
This
right
was
above
the most
everything.
blatant, like, here's an electrical box. This buzz is really loud. Notice me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a couple times in this episode, like the other time I feel like is also with Richard Horn when he's driving, right before he gets out of the car, there's just
Oh, you're
this
right,
like like static that just is like really overpowering as he's getting out of the truck.
And also the lamp in Horn's office is
Yeah.
like very loud.
Buzzing.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh man, there's man, yeah. I remember watching this episode and just the forums afterwards were like, did you like the shadow of the lamp is like the edge of the Al Cave symbol, like all this bullshit. It's like, not seeing it. But, I don't know. There's a lot of talk about that when this started. When
I'm
this
pretty sure I
episode
know
came
what
out.
that's all about because the stupid icons of the future episodes on
Oh
Showtime.
no!
Oh no!
So I'm pretty sure I know why that was happening, and I'm kind of upset that
Oh man, bummer. What episode was it for?
I mean, it looked like 5 down the line or so.
Oh,
like,
interesting. I'm not gonna remember.
I could
what
be wrong.
specifically happened
I
in that
mean,
episode.
I don't want to mention anything
Yeah,
with
no,
everyone,
that's-
but I'll talk to you about it later and see if I'm right.
That sucks. I feel like I kind of had a similar experience watching Game of Thrones. I tried like
Yeah,
when we
it's
watched
so
when we were
hard.
watching it.
But, like, you
I
turn on the
tried
app and the
not to.
promo images are...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Once we were getting close and they had announced season. I mean, we didn't start watching till after they had announced season 8. There were times when I'd turn on an episode and it's just like, here's a real in-depth trailer for the 8th season of Game of Thrones, and you're watching season 6. So,
That
like,
sucked.
fuck.
Oh man!
They're still alive. Fuck.
No, this one, for some reason on YouTube TV, like they have the Showtime attachment app, and I had a free trial to it, but it would start at episode 18. So I'd have to scroll all the way to the
Dumb.
other end. And
Oh, that is
luckily
so
I noticed
dumb.
I didn't see anything, but I was just like,
Build your shit better.
seriously.
Anyways, we
Pretty
digress.
sporadic. I feel like these episodes were really sporadic character-wise.
Yeah, I mean the let's.
We got
start,
a lot of Dougie.
Yeah, let's talk about Dougie because he's a big chunk of that first episode. I think most of his stuff is in that first episode, and then just a little bit later. One of my favorite images and shots of this season is him at that statue. There's something about that, and I was telling Riley, there's that music. Like that's a song that we hear a lot over these next couple episodes, and I really just like it. Like it feels like classic Twin Peaks, and also the way they use that song feels like classic Twin Peaks. And there's also just this really, for me, this deep emotional longing for real Cooper,
Right,
You know,
yeah.
and that is, I don't know. In that moment, you can almost feel Cooper inside of
You
Dougie,
can.
like,
It's almost
wanting
like
to
you
be
can
out too.
see the cogs turning in his brain.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what to do. Like you know what's going on deep down.
Yeah.
I do like the gag of him always like being like obsessed with the badges, like the
Yeah.
law enforcement badges.
And I'm constantly overjoyed at the way people treat Dougie after they've been around him for 5 minutes. Just like
They're like,
this
"Oh,
is
okay."
fine. He seems like a super cool dude.
I like the nice little intern who takes care of him, who's always got the
Yeah.
coffee, and he's
Yeah,
like,
me
"All
too.
You
right,
better
Dougie,
hire
come
that
on."
guy after this internship is over.
Seriously, come on, Dougie, come on. Come on.
Dougie, the luckiest man alive, Jones.
Yeah, Mr. Jackpots is known by
Mr.
some of his
Jackpots.
friends. But yeah, so the whole I will say another one of my favorite moments in this episode is when Janie E finds the picture of him and Jade, and she shows it to him, and he's like, Jade, give 2 rides.
Oh, I bet she did.
I bet it. Yeah, just that. I think Naomi Watts is such a great. Her performance is so
It's
good.
just the right amount of over the top.
Yeah. It's just this like stereotypical thing that's just played with the right amount of subtlety and like everything about it. I really love that.
We got a neighbor in our neighborhood who I imagine would behave much like her.
Really?
Are you talking about me?
I'll mime her haircut to you.
It's the Karen. He's doing the Karen.
Can
I
I
don't know.
talk
It
to your
kind of looked
manager?
like Stardust era David Bowie to me a little bit.
But that scene where she's like confronts the extortionists.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, if she was put in that situation, she would
Yeah.
handle it that same way.
That's such a like timely monologue too. Like I feel it uses those like political buzzwords from like the last few years.
Part of the 99%.
Yeah. We've been shit on enough like that. That whole thing is great.
There's something.
She's badass.
There's something about their storyline that, and maybe I'm reading this, but that feels very, I don't know, recession-esque and
Yeah, no.
like. I don't know, something about it that reminds me of like something like The Big Short or something but it's definitely not the same tone or anything. It's just there's something about them. I guess because it is like it's like supposed to be the almost like that 50s like vintage perfect American family situation, but that is like you peel back the layers and there's problems, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's totally. I mean, I feel like even the neighborhoods and everything. Like when we first meet Dougie, he's just getting it out with the prostitute in a possibly abandoned or never sold home.
Yeah.
And all those subdivisions feel totally like, it's like that scene, The Big Short, where they go to Florida and
Yeah, that's
knocking
definitely
on all the
reminded me of
doors
that,
and
yeah.
people are just abandoning. Like, I think that's intentional. Like it feels intentional to me at least.
There's a few things that happen in that scene with Dougie, and it's Janie E.
Yeah, Janie E.
I have
Fucking
no
whole
idea where.
family.
And
And
they've
Sonny
said that.
Jim.
I'm sure they've said that out loud.
Yes, they've said it a few
Because
times.
I just say Naomi Watts.
Yeah,
the
I've
worst
never caught
goddamn
her
names in America are
Sonny
in this
Jim,
family.
Janie E. So in that scene where the police bring him back, and she's like, "I'll make us some sandwiches." So I don't know if I'm just seeing things, but it shows the same shot of her taking a bite of the sandwich twice. It shows it at the
Oh,
beginning.
okay.
It looks like it to me. It looks
Yeah.
like the same thing. So it shows her taking a bite of the sandwich, and then when it cuts, it's just a half sandwich. So it's like I don't know if this is a mistake or if it was purposeful.
Right.
But then at the end of that scene, when Dougie, I think, had gone upstairs, it shows the same shot of her taking a bite of the sandwich again. It looks
Interesting.
exactly the same to me. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, no, that's worth going back and looking at
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Because I didn't notice that. Did you notice that when we were watching? We watched those today.
I
and
didn't
was trying
notice
to-
it.
Lynch got lazy.
interesting.
I mean, that seems like it would go along with the other like visual hidden gems that we've seen so far of like kind of like a double
yeah,
thing going on.
yeah, of like a different way of doing that. I feel like. So yeah, that's actually a really interesting observation on that scene. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about kind of the stuff that takes place in that house. He has that scene with Sonny Jim.
We hear him speak for the first time, so he's not mute.
Yeah, yes.
Is that really the first time he ever speaks?
I think so. I don't remember him
It
speaking
might
ever.
be, yeah.
It is.
He just
Yeah.
laughed before.
Yeah, he did the thumbs up and laughed,
Yeah.
and then he laughed at him at breakfast, and that was the last time we saw him.
Huh, I guess
Sadly,
so.
got into the car. But yeah, that clapper scene I think is really joyous and fun.
Laying the chip on his bed.
Yeah, it's like the things that Dougie does. They're like they resemble humanity just enough. Like it could just be like I won't tell your mom if you don't kind of like winking, laying the chip there. But it's literally just like, well, this chip is yours now, and I can't put it into my mouth, I think. So here,
he communicates just enough where people can get an idea of like what he might be trying to say.
right. People see exactly what they want to see or expect from Dougie when they look at Dougie. Like it's amazing. Even like Janie E has these. Let's talk about that scene after when she is pissed and calls him down. After her conversation on the phone with the extortionist, by the time she's at the end of that conversation, she's just like, "Oh, Dougie, we'll figure it out." Like she has gone on
kisses
her
him on the
own
head.
emotional journey, without his participation, in a way that's really fun to watch. Like just that performance, I think, is so fun to watch.
Which is so interesting because even the little glimpses we have of Dougie and his personality, you wouldn't think people would be this forgiving. Like it's like what? But clearly they know something's off. But I mean, it's kind of pretty off.
Yeah. Well, because she's like, I'm taking you to the doctor tomorrow. And then it's like, guess I can't take you to the doctor tomorrow. We're never going to find out what's wrong with you.
Can we talk about the paperwork?
Yeah, let's talk
that
about it.
scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting because obviously we understand that Dougie still has some sort of connection to the other side of things. And he has, we see the one-armed man trying to communicate with him, but then when he's doing the paperwork, he's seeing little symbols and then writing on them, and he keeps drawing ladders and what looks like a staircase. And he does that on almost every page, which is really interesting to me, and I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out why.
Yeah. I think the other thing he does just like these scribbles, these circular scribbles and lines, and they're almost always from names to other names, which feels like the more overt connections. And I can't remember his last name, but Anthony or Tony, he's the other guy. Like his is the name that's on a lot of those.
The guy who he said was a liar?
That he called a liar.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
So, but yeah, and it's great because in that scene with Mullins, fighting Bud Bushnell Mullins, we'll call him. I'm going to refer to him as his full name. That journey of him too, of being like, what the fuck is this shit? You're so fired. I'm just going to go through the rest of these and make sure you didn't do any real work. Yeah. He's like, oh. Huh. Well, because he's
good work.
Yeah, I just love it. It's another one of those moments where he's like, how am I supposed to make sense of this? And then Doug just make sense of it. He's like, fine, Doug, I'll fuck. Okay. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. And like, I do love the little bit stuff that we do see of Tony, of him just like in his office, like looking over as Dougie's going into there. Like that's all great. And then the scene in Dougie's office with him when the detectives show up, when she's like, oh, the police are here to talk to you. He's like, oh yeah, I got to call the police, or I got to make a call. I've got to get the fuck out of here. Like just walks out of the office. But yeah, that that connection is so interesting, and I love just when he does see Mike, he just tells him two things over and over: wake up, don't die. Like,
man,
yeah, good advice.
Good advice.
Good advice.
That's what I tell myself every morning.
I was going to say that's on my mirror when I get ready in the morning.
I found that scene particularly haunting. I don't know what it is, because we've seen Mike a few different times when he's been trying to communicate with Coop, but that scene was so creepy to me. I don't know what it was.
I kind of feel the same way, but I feel like I have this very specific emotional memory of a family room lit in that way and at that time of night, where it's like it always feels like a Sunday night to me for some reason, where there's like this dread for the next day.
Oh man,
and for
fuck! I didn't do my homework. Oh, I feel that. Yeah, I get that. I
Yeah,
get it.
there's something like the way that is lit. It's just like those lamps, and it's very warm but dark in all the corners. And it just, I'm like, I don't want to fucking go to work tomorrow. Like, if I go to bed, I'm gonna have to go to work tomorrow. Like, I don't know why, but I have that same. I had a similar reaction where it's like that evokes a very primal and like specific response in me for whatever reason. But yeah, it's that stuff is really interesting. And we're treated to an even creepier, I feel like, Black Lodge crossover we'll talk about a little bit later with Dougie's story. Was there anything else in between? We kind of talked about the Janie E scene, just delightful.
So delightful.
I think the performance from the extortionists too, like they are the lowest level of power in that scene. Like they come in with it, and it's just immediately snatched from them by Janie E. Like
I love how she has the wad of cash in her hand, and she's just waving it in their faces like, "Fuck you guys! You can't do this to me. Here you go."
There's something great about it taking place just at a playground. Like they just meet at this playground
in the middle of the day when there's children everywhere.
Yeah, it's so good.
But yeah, felt bad for them.
they really
get your ass kicked, and you might go to your boss and get your ass kicked again.
Yeah.
Well, they call her like Tough Dame or something at the end. Tough Dame.
Tough Dame. The 50s ass phrase to use. So yeah, and then we know Dougie's car is discovered, blown up, and those detectives. Which I love.
The All-Star team.
One of my favorite lines is David Koechner, the guy from Mega Man, when he comes in. Hey, hi, the detectives Fusco. Like, he just introduces them because they're all three Detective Fusco. We're the detectives Fusco. Which, yeah, do you need 3 detectives on this case?
You own a car garage?
Time? Yeah.
I love how they find the license plate on the roof of the other house too.
Yeah,
he just reads it off from the ladder.
I got it
there.
So yeah, that woman is still just needs some help. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, she's saying 911 backwards.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe drugs are a gateway to the Black Lodge.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And
possibly,
she's trying to communicate that she's learned to talk backwards from them, but she doesn't quite have it down.
Yeah. Maybe that's the hotline that Mike is supposed to answer. But he's too busy, talking to Dougie.
I feel like Mike's just trapped doing one-man theater in the Black Lodge by himself. I feel bad for him.
Me too. His arm is now just a tree that's not. It's not like a sightly thing. It's not like you want to hang out with him anymore. Like before, at least he was humanish. You know, like he had like a human form, but now, who wants to look at that all day? Yeah. Yeah, so that's just really interesting. And then let's talk about the rest of the stuff when we talk about Ike the Spike a little bit.
Who is Ike the Spike?
The
dude with the ice pick?
the hitman. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know he was a little person until I saw him running to go kill that woman. So in the first scene, I was just like, "Oh, who's this guy?" And he stabs the pictures, but then he comes and he kills that one with the other scene. I was like, "Oh, what is going on?"
Yeah.
And he was way more mournful of his screwdriver being bent than he was about murdering a few
bent
people.
at like a perfect 90-degrry angle, like into
he just
290.
stops.
It's like 90 and then up also. Like,
how were you stabbing that woman?
It's like the world's messiest hitman. Like, I feel like when I think of hitmans, it's going to be like one shot, really clean.
Yeah, no.
But he just goes in and destroys them. And I mean, his fibers are all over her because he was like on top of her.
True.
He's not got any hair. He's not even in
But
fibers.
clothes.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta love what
Dead
you do.
skin.
I mean, he left a
Covered
lot
in
of
blood.
skin behind
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
But yeah, his and he's also tied into we see Mr. Todd again.
Right.
The Vegas computer guy who just gets a red square on his laptop screen.
Yeah.
And then gets that envelope to send to Ike.
Yeah, see, these are so spaced out so far apart. I feel like I'm not smart enough to like remember everything by the time it's going to be revealed of what's going on. I'm going to be like, what the fuck?
There's just so many little threads for sure that are like tangentially connected and never like super visually connected, because the only thing that does connect them is that envelope. And I don't know, it's crazy. I will say another recurring song, like that's another song that we get to hear several times.
Oh, that I forgot about that.
Yeah. Just such a distinct and on the other end of like just the most un-Twin Peaksy feeling song. But yeah, and then that woman is definitely dead, who we've seen in some previous episodes, whose name I cannot remember.
Wait, we've seen her before?
Yeah, she like
I
she
thought
gets a
she
call
works
from someone
there.
and she like talks to someone off screen. Is that correct?
Well, she does talk to the guys who were waiting for Dougie, who were in the car, who were like, yeah, his car's still here, so I guess he's still inside.
Okay.
And she's like really nervous that job isn't done. So then I think it's presumed that because they did not kill Dougie yet, now she is on the list as well as Dougie and is given to another contractor, basically, or whatever. So yeah, he does that, and then he does try to kill Dougie, but
Gets karate chopped in the neck.
yeah, it's gonna be tough to get one up on a man named Mr. Jackpots.
The Cobra.
Mr. Jackpot's the Cobra.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a character named Mr. Jackpots in Yakuza 0, the video game, who's this giant man that just wanders around the map, and if he sees you, he will chase you down and beat the shit out of you. But if you can beat him, you make like 1,000,000 yen, which is fucking cool. But it's very hard to do. I died several times in Mr. Jackpots.
$1 million. What's the conversion rate?
It's like
these days?
$100,000.
Is that like $7?
Yeah, probably. It's like around there. I know it bought me an upgrade to my Dragon Punch skill. So
whatever those are
one
going for these
Dragon
days.
yeah, it's the equivalent of the jump from level 2 to level 3 of Dragon Punching someone. I hope that conversion is useful to anyone. Yeah, so that I just remember watching this scene originally and being like, what the arm terrifies me. There's something about the arm that whenever I see it, it makes me really uneasy.
So I can't remember if there are any visual differences. Is that the evolution of the arm, or is that the shadow self of the evolution of the arm?
I believe it's the evolution of the arm because the shadow self has like this really sickly
yellow?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and he's just telling him to pull his hand up.
Squeeze his hand up.
Yeah.
And he does it. He does a good job. Find a big the scene when the police finally arrive is such an odd scene. It is shot so differently. The vignette when the police grab this just big flesh, like this piece of flesh off the gun.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah. So odd.
It really is.
And then like the interviews of the people, it's almost like from a news camera footage. And it's so different. It's so strikingly different from everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really bizarre. Yeah, any thoughts on that scene or that Black Lodge connection? I don't have anything in particular I'm thinking, but
I mean, Mike seems to want to help.
Yeah,
Cooper. I don't know what if the motivations are the same or differ between him and his arm. But yeah, it's really bizarre how they treated people in general, but especially Cooper in seasons 1 and 2 versus what is happening in the return, and I don't understand it. The fact that he is instinctively having some that come back to him, his martial arts ability or whatever it was, is hopeful for me that we get more of old Cooper back, because as much as I do enjoy these Dougie scenes, I really miss that part about Twin Peaks is having Cooper, so I'm hoping this leads more into that.
Yeah. I feel like Firewalk with Me does a lot to blur the lines of what we think we know about the Black Lodge and who we think we can trust there. You know, it's really interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say about that. But yeah, so let's talk about. We do get a healthy chunk of Twin Peaks, the town, in these episodes. Let's talk about everyone's favorite aggressively rapey coke addict, Richard Horn.
Oh gosh.
What a scene! The scene with Red. I think his name is Red. Balthazar Getty's character, where he is agreeing to traffic Sparkle, some drug from Canada, down into Twin Peaks, is really fascinating and bizarre.
Some of those lines. You ever see The King and I?
Yeah.
What else does he say?
And then he follows that with like, I will saw your head open and eat your brains if you fuck me over. Like,
Yeah.
it's aggressive.
And he's like, have you ever studied your hand?
I got a liver problem.
I love the sound. Yeah, there's like distinct sound things in that design where it's like by the third time it happens, you're like, oh, this isn't like a naturally occurring sound. This is a very blatant like button that they're adding to all of his punches and like weird movements.
Does the scene start with him with Horn being just like, whoa? That's It starts with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if like the rest of that was just like how his brain on drugs was interpreting this guy.
kinda what I
Yeah,
thought,
I
too.
like that
Yeah.
theory. I like it a lot.
And like hearing these sounds, but then at the same time, I'm like, but this is fucking Twin Peaks. This could just be like
Yeah.
completely real. Like,
Well, but like the dimes, like the coin trick thing,
Yeah.
like that feels very ambiguous. But like when I watch this scene, I'm like, okay, yeah, I think it's just Richard being fucking gone
Yeah.
on this stuff.
I mean, it either has to be that or that guy's like connected to the Black Lodge because
Yeah.
he's like apparently can do legitimate magic dime
Yeah.
tricks or whatever.
Either that or he's David Lynch's son, all
Yeah.
grown up
That's what I was just thinking.
and graduating from corn tricks
cream
to coin
corn
tricks.
just starts falling out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Also, Dime's making a hefty comeback in
That
this
was
show.
okay. It was a nickel.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
It was
was
like
a
a
Buffalo
buffalo
nickel.
head
So-
nickel.
Oh, I thought it was a
a
dime.
buffalo
Yeah,
nickel.
Buffalo
It was a
nickel
buffalo
because
nickel.
they had never mind.
Dimes.
Oh, you're talking about the other one.
The hawk, yeah,
okay.
the hawks thing. But yes,
But coins in general, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Am I right, guys?
I mean,
The new
dimes
dominoes.
dimes are hard to flip off your
Yeah.
finger like that because they're tiny. Like you have
Yeah.
a very little window for like where your nail needs to catch that to flip it concurrently into the air.
so
You know what I mean? Like
Hawk
for, like,
dropping
10
a dime.
seconds.
Dimes are way bigger. Fucking idiot. Am I right?
I guess I've never seen a buffalo nickel in real life because that thing looked small. I don't think are they smaller than?
I don't think so.
Hawk's got
I think
giant.
the
hands.
visual is
Yeah. Have you noticed that you never see his face in his hands in the same shot because it's very jarring.
It's a lot of work from the production crew to make sure that those never got in there.
You guys want to know one time I got detention in high school for writing a 10-page paper on why the U.S. should get rid of pennies? And then,
You got detention?
yeah, because it didn't fit the assignment, and I yelled at the teacher when she tried to give me an F.
Okay, there is more to
There
this
we
story.
go.
This isn't a teacher who loves pennies more than life itself.
She was just like, and it was for a standardized test, so it goes to the district and like she gets evaluated on it. And I was like, I thought it fit the prompt. Like it was, it was something about like bettering the world.
Like,
And
Mitchell, listen. We let you march against pennies. We let you take pennies out of our lunchroom. What the fuck are you doing?
I was student body president. I should have pushed for that. But yeah, I should have followed that up with a paper of like why we should get rid of all coins. Because people,
I feel like
That's
used
why I
a
got
coin- I haven't used a
detention was
coin
the
in
paper.
10
It
years.
wasn't my telling her to fuck off.
I didn't say that. I honestly got in trouble. I got kicked off my high school football team because me and my coach yelled at each other. I have issues with authority, so that's twice that I ran into that.
That's amazing. I love that one of them is about a paper you wrote about getting rid of pennies, which I agree with. Fuck pennies.
What a waste of
I hate pennies.
copper and nickel. It's actually, it's actually nickel inside of a penny, and it's just copper skinning.
That's most of the reason I think we should get rid of them. Is it's deceptive.
Yeah. I don't like lies. It's like pennies. Oh, I'm not going to go there. Never mind.
Anyways, so yeah, Richard Horton's gonna do some drugs and deal some drugs.
Killed a
What
kid.
dude. Yeah,
yeah.
killed a kid. We see Carl Rod again, which
He's trailer park owner, right?
yes, okay, yeah. I actually need to look this up. Harry Dean Stanton also died
Oh.
pretty close to. I can't remember if it was before or after this actually aired.
I was kind of expecting to see him just die on screen because he looked like he was about to go.
Yeah, he's very
He's
old.
shambling.
guy,
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so he died. Oh, he died September of 2017. So just a
Wow.
couple months after this.
Right after.
So in the secret history, you mentioned that his character, the log lady, and Briggs all had the same experience of.
So not Briggs. So there is a third, but they're much older than Briggs. Not much older.
Who was the third person?
He's kind of a no name. You never really
Okay.
you never see him. He's just a guy who moved to California.
Some
at some
kid
point.
named Sam Shikuski.
Yes, Sam Shikuski. But yes, he is had a similar. He was there when Margaret disappeared. He disappeared with her, and then they all came back together. So he and I feel like in Fire Walk with Me and in this little bit that we see of him, you do get that idea that he is in tune to this higher, whatever that is. Because we talked about the scene with the woman that comes into the trailer when they're in there in Fire Walk with Me and has the ice pack on her head or whatever.
We
It's,
also
like,
saw another mysterious person in this episode when FBI agent lady comes and sees
That's
Briggs'
right,
body,
yeah.
and she's on the phone, and then you hear the grating
Yeah.
sort of sound, and then that figure just walking behind her,
Yeah.
the dark
Yeah.
figure.
Who was maybe the
slasher.
same one that was in the prison? Is it a different one or is it the same guy?
I think it's a different guy, but same.
Same entity group. But
I will say within the next week we will see a chunk of black
no.
soot covered men.
just tell me it's what's his face from the original Mary Poppins, just
It
covered in
is.
soot.
It is
Dick Van Dyke?
absolutely.
Van
It's
Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke. They're not.
Hi, Cheerio.
It's not actually Dick Van Dyke, but later on in the show they will be credited as the Dick Van Dykes.
That's a good band name.
It's a great lesbian punk band name. I think it would be amazing. Anyways, so yeah, but that I loved that scene. And one of the things I love about that scene is it kind of leaves it ambiguous to if Private Knox saw it, or is it Lieutenant Knox? I don't know her. I can't
Lieutenant.
remember her. Yeah.
Navy person,
Because
Knox, is what I
she
call it.
does look behind her, but doesn't really acknowledge
Yeah.
him, and then goes into the room and he walks past the door when they're talking about that.
Oh, I
So-
didn't even see him walk past afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that Briggs stuff a little bit. I think it's really cool and weird and fun.
Briggs gained some weight, got a de-aging surgery, and died.
Lost
Yes,
his head.
yeah, and his head is gone.
So this is confusing because we did see Briggs in season 2 come back with his World War I pilot uniform on, right? As
Right.
if he had traveled through time. So, or at least that's what you can infer. Which I was like, oh yeah, that would explain. But I was like, but he's dead, so that doesn't make sense. He couldn't go back in time and die, and
Oh,
then all
shit.
of a sudden pop back up.
What if the Briggs who came back in season 2 was the evil
Shadow
Shadow
Briggs.
Briggs, and good Briggs is still in the lodge.
But he probably wouldn't be that upset about Cooper being different if he was Shadow Briggs.
That's true. So that is a secret history thing. Is Briggs sees Cooper after Cooper has come back out of the Black Lodge, and he writes in the dossier in the secret history thing, something's
Something's
bad.
up.
I need to initiate these. I need to cover this up or whatever he's going to do. And then the only other thing we know is Bobby Briggs does say that his dad died a few days after seeing Cooper in a fire at Listening Post Alpha, which
Yeah, he doesn't
nothing's
burn.
ever said about a body.
And
I don't know,
he would
it's
have been around the age they're saying, right? In kind
Yeah.
of his mid-40s.
Yeah.
Well, shit.
So
we've talked a little bit before about the possibility of multiple timelines,
Right.
So there could be multiple Briggs at this point. I can't remember. Did the actor who plays him? I can't remember his name.
Donis Davis.
Was he dead by this point?
Yeah, he
Okay.
died in 2008.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So the odds of us seeing him are probably pretty low unless they recast him or something.
Yeah.
We saw his head, his floating head in space.
Yeah, which they probably had to generate or take from somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not sure how they did that or what it was.
I mean, they probably just took some Stargate footage and turned it sideways and then voiced over it.
They said Blue Rose a lot in Stargate. Apparently, take your pick. It's 9 different readings. Yeah. So that's that stuff's all really interesting. And I love that's the thing about Twin Peaks too, is there's so many of these characters that like when I see them on screen, I'm like, oh, I like them. Like I love the coroner, Buckhorn, Constance.
I did. As soon as she popped back up, I was all excited because I miss Buckhorn a little bit, period.
Yeah.
And I was like, at first I didn't really notice her, and I was like, hey, like this lieutenant's just coming bowl through over whoever's there, and I was like, nah, I already know this chick is badass.
Yeah, yeah. And I like Detective Mackley too. Like he's
Yeah.
just a fun character.
I like
think.
that storyline and all of those characters. I wish we could see more of them. I'm still very confused on that Gardner dude, if he's going to pop back up from like the first episode or whatever that guy was.
The guy in the alley.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know who I am? Where I'm going? Yeah.
But he like called someone in that episode, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think they'd show that unless it was like connected with something. All I can think about when I see the actress though, the coroner, is Orange County, when she's like the secretary and Jack Black comes in the building and like tried to seduce her, and they end up getting high and burning down the building.
I forgot about that movie entirely until just now.
It's like an underrated mediocre.
I agree.
I like
it's not
it.
good,
agree.
but it's underrated.
And it introduced me to Colin Hanks, who I like.
Yeah.
I like Colin Hanks.
Wait, what movie is this?
Orange County.
Oh, who wrote
Orange County.
that?
don't know,
One of the
actually.
Ghostbusters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what's his
He's in
name?
it.
Dan Aykroyd?
No, not
the
Dan
other
Aykroyd.
one. He's in it though.
He's in it, and he wrote and directed it, I think. That's a great movie.
Ramis? Is it Ramis?
Ramis.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Weird.
That is a great
Yeah,
movie. I don't remember that scene at all.
It's like what I feel like
the
it's
scene?
the scene.
And then
Well, it's
Ben
been a
Stiller's
while.
the fireman afterwards. He's like asking him about it. He's like, she said it was an electrical fire. He's like, oh yeah, totally electrical, just sparks flying everywhere.
The
Like,
scene I remember most from that movie is just Jack Black, like, drugged out of his mind, just, like, doing flips around his room.
what? That's not a scene.
Come on, that's a scene, right?
I need to watch it again. Well, let's watch it. Let's watch it after this.
Yeah. Bring it back up in recommendation.
Yes. Stay tuned for more Orange County talk. You've been dying to hear. Who knows? We might even get into their choppers. So let's talk about the elephant on the recorder, Diane. No, I was trying to. It didn't work.
This kind of blows my theory out of the water a bit. I could still hold on to it that she's not this whole time they've just been carrying a tape recorder around, like putting it in front of Cooper, like she's not really there. But
Right.
that was my whole thing, was she wasn't real. Now
I love how strong of a personality she is, but part of me wishes she would have remained like a whisper.
like an unknown if she was real or not. That would have been.
But no, she's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I mean, she fits that FBI of like everyone's such a strong personality, and I love that about this show
for sure. And there's it feels like there's a lot between her and all those people. You know what I mean? Like those relationships feel very believable, and even though we don't know the details behind that, like it feels very heavy. Some shit has obviously happened in the last 25 years. And presumably some bad shit happened with Cooper and Diane after Bad Coop came out of the Black Lodge. But yeah,
Did they insinuate that they banged on like the last night they saw each other? I thought they did.
so.
I mean, I think I don't know that it was
Consensual.
Yeah. That's the feeling I
But
get
here's also the thing: was it specified that was after he came out?
It wasn't.
Because I was like questioning that. I was
Don't
like,
destroy my belief in good Cooper here. That's not okay.
because like I was wondering. I was like, would good Cooper? I mean, at first I was like, oh, that it was like a consensual thing, and he just didn't call her again. I'm like, would he do that? But so yeah, I don't know. Do you recall if it's specified? If it was...
I don't remember. No.
Okay.
I couldn't say for sure because I don't think they give a time.
No.
And was there I didn't see or feel like there was a sexual connotation at all. Did I miss something? Did they talk about that explicitly? Because she just said like, "Do you remember that night you came over?" And he was like, "Yeah."
I'll never.
And
But
then-
then he
and
says
then
like,
Just the
I'll never
dialogue.
forget that.
Yeah, just the dialogue. The fact that it's a night that they spent together, I think, kind of insinuates that it was sexual. I don't know.
If
That's
anyone
kinda-
says you remember that night at
Yeah.
my apartment, I feel like that's immediately like
I feel like
sexual
there's,
thing.
to me too, there's just a lot of subtext in Diane's performance, and particularly in the scene between her and Gordon Cole afterwards.
Yeah.
Because she does say there's that insinuation. There's a lot more is when she's like, we'll talk later, or after she talks to him. And she also is extremely different when she like that interaction with Gordon Cole is not what we've seen from her. Like the polar opposite almost of what we've seen from her up to that point, which I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like there's just so much there that we don't know.
Well, we know
yet,
at the time in 1991, that was only 2 years before Diane would go to Jurassic Park and have a tragic experience. So she could still be really reeling from that.
True. Yeah. But I will say I do love Lordner's performance in this. I love her interaction with Tammy.
What's your name again?
Because I don't love Tammy that much. I mean, here's the thing. Tammy's another person that I love the character. The performance isn't quite there for me. And we just haven't had a lot of time with her.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's kind of a
I
satisfying
feel like I
thing
hate
at
her
this
from
point.
her walk.
The moment, yes, the moment before Gordon Cole turns his ears up to full volume and her like double or triple like sigh and eye roll thing, not great.
Yeah, anytime there's a long stretch, it's just like the most exaggerated feminine walk. That's
Yeah.
like no one. I've never seen anyone even trying to be the sluttiest drunk they've ever been do that walk.
Yeah. But yeah, I like a lot of the stuff that she's given, but there are just those moments that I'm not a huge fan of with her. But yeah, any other Diane thoughts or anything like that? Was anyone shocked to see Diane?
I was
Show up?
very
Okay.
shocked.
I thought they were referencing Annie when.
Right.
They
Yeah. Oh
said
yeah. We had that
before.
conversation. Yeah. I forgot that we had talked about that. Yeah. I think Riley. I think we had talked about it too, possibly being Audrey. Riley was thinking it was either Audrey or Annie, which would have been interesting. We hear Audrey's name for the first time in the show at this point. Doc Hayward brings her up.
On Skype.
On Skype, on the coolest desk computer ever.
It's got a little lever and everything.
All I could think about was for that computer was like, once that computer's outdated in 10 years, that's going to be a pain to replace that shit.
Yeah.
What's your Skype username? I wonder if that actor was just like, look, I'm not coming anywhere, but I'll Skype in if you want to say a few things.
He's another one, died between shooting and this
Oh,
airing.
wow.
So like he was just sick for a long time, and so that's like his bit in this. And I love there's a moment in there, me and Riley watched this together, and I used to work at my grandpa's upholstery shop. I worked with like 3 men over 60
Lots of
all
old
day
men
every
humor.
summer. Yeah. And like that moment where he's like, I caught a couple fish in my pajamas the other day. What they were doing in my pajamas, I'll never know. Like, I was like, that's Wally. That's there's an old guy I know named Wally. That's his joke. But yeah, he does reveal a little bit more. We're getting these little bits and pieces, I feel like, of what happened immediately after Cooper came out of the Black Lodge, and he talks about seeing him at the hospital in the intensive care unit, and that he thinks he was checking in or looking in at Audrey Horne, who was it's revealed as was in a coma at the time, because of the bank explosion. So yeah, not a whole lot of other information. I can't remember. Is there anything else specifically from that scene that you guys remember?
No. I do like the fact that they went through the trouble of showing us him logging into Skype and talking about it. Like, let's see, we're having a phone conversation. Do you know about Skype?
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't have just shown them Skyping. They had to go through the process.
Honestly, the product, I don't know if it's necessarily product placement in the show, because like they have shown a Microsoft Surface tablet. They have shown a Samsung tablet. They have shown an iPhone, I believe, and a Mac computer. I thought one of the
ThinkPad by Lenovo.
Oh yeah,
that's
and
Mr.
yeah,
Todd.
a couple
Yeah.
times.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
and Miss Vicky's chips.
Yeah, which is
But they don't hide any of
Original
this shit. So I'm
flavor.
like,
Well, and also they like Mercedes. They show the Mercedes logo very
yeah.
Yep.
prominently on that car in the first episode.
I
But
feel
it's
like
like,
that's
these are like
something
some-
David Lynch would be so against.
some of them are
Yeah.
like competing brands. So I'm like, is it product placement or they were like, what do we got? We're
Here we
gonna
go,
use
yeah.
like.
Because no one Skypes anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Skype was like the first, right? And it somehow is over time, like they didn't make any changes, just stayed the shittiest
And they
way
kept
to
it like
communicate with people.
they where you like have to have a membership, and their quality was still bad. And I was like, yeah, we've got this shit called FaceTime. Facebook has it, WhatsApp has it, Snapchat has it,
And everyone
Marco
does it
Polo,
better.
Hangouts.
than you, like
Get Out, Skype. And
Doc
that was-
Hayward, you heard of this crazy new invention called
But
Skype?
that's the thing. These are two really old men in 2017. They're like, can you believe we can talk on video on Skype? That's fucking
they
crazy.
just like do every chance they get. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we're, like you said, we're on the phone.
yeah.
Let's Star Trek this shit.
But yeah, let's talk a little about Sheriff Truman too. We get a little bit of glimpse into his family life,
so sad.
and that scene where we learn that Chad really is just the fucking trash on your shoe. Like, God,
How is that guy
what a
on
piece of
real
shit.
police force group in that department?
That's the thing. It's funny because like I think it's great that his name is Chad because I think of like the people that call other people Chad, and he is that person. Like, anyways, that's not a like pertinent to that when this was made.
I feel like
Anyways,
him
but-
and Hawk should switch roles. Like, Chad should be working with Andy and Lucy.
Oh yeah, who was that guy Andy was talking to?
He's the owner of the truck, right?
yeah, so he's the owner of the truck, and that's why Andy is there.
And we never did see what was in that door.
Right?
They like
yeah,
do the ominous pan,
yeah. We
True
just,
Detective style towards that building, and then all of a sudden we don't see it.
Yeah,
The truck that killed the little boy?
yeah. Because you see that's where that truck is parked,
Yeah.
and he's very adamant about not talking about it right then,
And
and
Andy's like, all right, we'll meet later.
sets up a meeting for 4:30.
Oh, is that
I don't know.
Hey, there we go.
We should be
like,
keeping a
very
Marcus, you need to
specific
start keeping a
numbers.
database of
Gosh, I feel
numbers that
dumb
are.
for
I was,
Riley's
and it's so hard. There's too many.
But yeah,
Did
like
you get that one, Riley?
Riley's got it.
She's
Riley-
really good at that.
yeah. Riley's the true detective.
Yeah, your notes mine are awful.
Um,
My
But yeah.
notes just say things like "fuck Chad" and "old man jokes."
also pertinent information. So yeah, and then we do have. Let's talk about Hawk finding the pages
The
real
missing
quick.
pages,
So yeah, we
which is a
finally
cool
have-
payoff.
Yeah,
Because we've
Really
known
is.
about the
Yeah.
missing pages for a long time, and I forgot about them until
Yeah,
this episode.
it's one of those pieces of information that it's hard to remember. Oh yeah, not everyone knows this at this point. Like no one else has heard the phrase "the good Dale is
Yeah.
still in the lodge and can't get out" or whatever.
And yeah, God bless new Sheriff Truman, because he seems like the type that doesn't believe in like anything supernatural.
yeah,
But is like taking it all pretty well.
yeah. Well, here I think
Coming from Hawk too, though, and Hawk
Yeah.
kind of seems like
Yeah.
I don't know everything he says. I'll believe it. I
yeah,
don't care what it is.
that's the cool thing. I feel like I feel like you can say that about both of the Truman brothers is once they trust someone, they're pretty all in
Yeah.
on listening to them and hearing what they have to say. But yeah, that's really interesting. And they spend a lot of time. That's like a rare scene in Twin Peaks where it's like, we're going to connect all these dots real quick for you
That
and
was
figure
really
out
cool.
how these pages got here. And it's interesting because even within that, there's some fallacies in what Hawk believes as far as what we know about the diaries, because Laura, those pages actually can't be from the diary at Harold Smith's, because she had given him that diary before she had the dream, and also Leland had torn pages out before she would have actually written that. You know what I mean? So like, but there are two diaries. So it's, I don't know. That's neither here nor there, but I think it's an interesting thing. There are points in this where it's like characters will get to the correct conclusion, not necessarily all the pieces will be correct. You know what I mean? Which I think is just a cool. That's not something you see in detective shows ever. I feel like and I think that probably happens in real detective work more than you'd think. So, anyways, that was really a random thing.
Yeah,
But
I think it's important to note they only have 3 of the 4 missing pages, though. So there's still
Right.
one page like floating around somewhere.
yeah. So yeah. And they don't like read any of the other pages. Like we're not.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, they do. They do.
The
show
back
they
of the
show.
other one, because it mentions Bob, doesn't it?
Yeah, and she writes, "I know it's not Bob." Or does she write something? It's not
Yeah,
Bob.
yeah.
I know who it is now. Yeah.
Is there? They do reference like when he would have hid the pages there.
Yeah.
Is there anything if you go back when you've rewatched it? Is there any like moment that you could have seen like maybe they didn't know that's what they were going to do at the time, but been like, oh, this is where it would have happened.
Well, I'm trying to remember because I know that there's several times where he's just in the sheriff's department, and there are times when he's interrogated and then they let him go, and. I can't think of a specific time where he's like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" You know what I mean? I can't think of anything that specific, but I think there are several points that you could look at and like, this could be it. Like he's in this heightened, more nervous state about what is going on here. Like, but they still are kind of treating him like not super intensely. You know what I mean? And they're not necessarily watching everything he's doing. So, but yeah, I think there are a couple moments if you go back and watch those episodes. So. But yeah, that stuff's great. I love that. I don't know. It's one of those things everyone knows I'm just a sucker for the Palmers. I just love anytime the Palmers show back up in anything. And so it's just really exciting. Yeah, what else? Is there anything else? I'm trying to remember like specifically some other stuff that we definitely need to talk about. We talked about Richard Horn.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about the hum in the Great Northern. We kind of brushed over.
Yeah,
that
let's talk about
with,
it.
And Ashley
Beverly.
Judd's husband, which I'm curious about.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was going to be someone we knew.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. But it's just Tom.
There's a lot of people I still hope we see from Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
getting a little patient.
hold on, I was like, who is this someone we know? I was like trying to figure it out, and then finally I just like paused it to find like the cast thing. I don't care about this guy.
Yeah.
I don't care that he's dying.
Yeah. It's an interesting. We're seeing. I mean, I guess we do see in that scene also kind of in talking about that dynamic between him and Ashley Judd's character Beverly. I can remember her name, but Beverly. There is definitely some sexual tension that he is not pursuing. So maybe he's
grown.
still good Ben.
Maybe he
Yeah,
is
I don't
good
know.
Ben.
Yeah.
He does seem like he's a little better.
So hard to be good.
Man, I love
Too
Jerry
bad.
though.
Honestly, the only way I can recognize that actor is just by what he does with his mouth. Like,
Ben Horn?
yeah. Like, purses his lips and his mouth gets really wide. I'm like, it's the same guy. I thought they recast you, but nope.
Have we seen anything in the Great Northern outside of his office?
No, I mean, this is the closest we do get a pan around kind of directly outside of his office. We see like a desk, but
There seemed to be an implication that it was not busy or not thriving
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, Beverly kind of
makes
has
me
that
sad.
line of,
It's
maybe
empty
it's because
here.
no one's here.
No one's here, yeah.
So yeah, that's and
He does
we also
get the key.
back.
Yeah.
That's the other big thing that happens.
I like, yeah.
That jade scent.
I'm ready
Good
for
old
these
jade.
tangential things to start coming together.
Yeah, and it's fun because he's like he just drops so much 25 years ago history on this woman who has no idea. She's like, oh, who? And who's Laura Palmer? And it's just like, bitch, how do you not know who Laura
Catch
Palmer
up,
is?
son.
She's the crux of this story, man.
Of this town. We all had a relationship with him.
Yeah. But yeah, there's just that hum. That whole scene is just about them kind of chasing that hum around his office. To the clearly alcave shadow of that lamp. Whatever. The next time David Lynch is interviewed, he's probably going to be like, I don't want to talk about anything Twin Peaks, but that lamp has a shadow of the alcave, so chase that for a while. and I'll be like, fuck. But no, I don't. That's bullshit. I don't believe it.
But after you read that, you went back and looked for it.
Of course I did. I'll chase any thread. I'm a dogged.
Some dude online
truther.
said that.
There's just a huge forum. It's great.
Lynch Lover 69.
I
that's
wish-
his name. His handle.
I wish there was a way. I wish I was savvy enough to be able to go back and just capture archives of the forums from like the day after these episodes aired and send them to you. I could probably do that. I'm gonna figure out if
Be on
there's
the
a way for me
Wayback
to do that.
Machine, maybe.
Yeah, I'll have to check and see if I can do that on some of these places because the conversations people are having, especially to go back and read them now after having seen all of them, is just like, man, everyone's so fucking wrong. It's crazy. But it was really fun. It was just like this really electric time.
Hey.
Oh boy.
Anyways, could you just put that sound under our entire podcast?
Yeah, okay. This is of what I possibly do know from getting that thing spoiled for me. I don't think this is spoiling at all, but like by asking this question, is the Black Lodge trying to help Ben Horn in some way? I mean, I guess that might be revealing stuff that comes in further episodes. But
I think if these bizarre noises have to do with like, I don't know if extraterrestrial or like Black Lodge, fantastical related elements being like in the ether around these real situations, then yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. I guess it could either be that it just depends on if there's a rule established. If whenever electrical disturbances do happen, it is them purposely doing it, or if it's kind of like a nature of its own, like it reacts in certain ways to events and things that.
Yeah. I can't really specifically answer that question, but yeah.
Err on the side of not answering.
I mean, it definitely like that. Those electrical things are very specific, and yeah, that I will say that there's a hint in later episodes that kind of like ties some of those things up, but yeah, so that's great. Jade, just a real team player. First of all, yeah, let's hold on. Janie hates Jade, but and I understand why.
But she's just a working woman.
Yeah, let's also be on the side of like, fucking Jade is like top tier. Like she's great.
I mean,
she gives him $5 and drives him somewhere. It's like, here, take this and call someone for help. That is, I've never had a prostitute do that for me.
Super unrealistic. Like, there's no such thing as getting money back in any way. The's no such thing as cultivating
Especially
a
in
relationship where they
Nevada.
even care about you a little bit.
But Jade and the intern need to get together because they are cut from the same jib.
Yeah, just good-hearted folk.
Go the extra mile in their job. They really put.
And
They
I'd be so
are
very
grade A
mismatched.
blonde whores, is what they are.
Oh man, so good.
You guys, I got my dad to start watching Twin Peaks,
Whoa.
and he listens to the podcast.
Oh shit!
I'm embarrassed now.
No, he really likes.
Mr.
he-
Marinos,
like,
I am so sorry for everything I've said. I feel dumb. This is the second dad I've been embarrassed to this
Wait,
week.
listen, don't put yourself
having
down
daddy
like
issues
that.
this week,
Don't
huh?
you dare put yourself down like that. Because I was talking to him about it. He's like, yeah, like two of the guys you do the podcast with are like really articulate and like really put things really well. So I don't know who he's talking about. Definitely not talking about me. So he enjoys it. He's in the middle of season 2.
Wow.
Oh, cool, man!
So
He's burning
he's
through it.
deep.
Yeah.
Catching up.
Great, awesome. Let me know what he thinks about the movie.
Have you met his dad?
No, I haven't, but no,
Oh.
I'm sure he maybe. he'll
Everyone
like
say
it, I
hi.
don't know.
Everyone say hi,
Hey,
Todd.
hey, Marcus's dad.
Hey, Todd.
Mr. Marinos.
I know that they named their band after him.
Oh,
Right, that's
oh,
the
yeah.
dad bod that you're referring to is your own dad's bod, right? All right.
Listen
We've
to Dad
embarrassed
Bod.
ourselves to one of our 3 listeners enough. Any other thoughts on these episodes? I'm looking through my notes. I think we kind of hit everything. I will say we see a little more office decor of Gordon Coles. We just see a portrait of just corn. Just fucking an upside down ear of corn, which I think we kind of talked about on Fire Walk With Me, is the symbol on the ring is slightly different than the Alcave symbol. And like with that little tail could possibly be like corn in that same orientation, which is weird.
Wait, what?
Never.
Anyways, well,
I got you. Yep.
we talked about it. Go back and listen to Fire Walk With
It's
Me
like the
discussion.
symbol for maize or something?
Yes. Well, yeah, and we talked about this a lot.
Anyway.
So I will say the three things that we have seen. I don't think we brought up the other weird portrait that we see in his office, but there's corn. There's just a nuclear explosion happening behind him. And there's also a portrait of Franz Kafka, author of Metamorphosis, that we see early in the season. Fucking cool. I want to see the reimbursement receipts for this is the art you picked, huh? We seriously have a catalog you could have gone through. All right. You're the boss.
That's right.
I want it right behind my desk.
Can we do a whole episode where we all have to try and talk like David Lynch the entire time?
Donate to our Patreon and we'll do the rest of this podcast as David Lynch. Which means we won't talk about anything about Twin Peaks. We'll just always drive the conversation towards transcendental meditation.
Or angry rants about the wrong way to view things.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps up. A lot of stuff happens this week. Next week will be kind of different. It's kind of a midpoint in the show. After the next episode, they took like kind of a week break from new episodes. So we're just gonna watch that episode and kind of like go back and kind of talk about everything. Kind of revisit some stuff if we were thinking about it, and we'll have plenty to talk about with the next episode, I'm sure. So yeah, we'll just be watching part 8 next week. If you want to email us any of your cool theories or anything, or tell us all the things that we're talking about that are incorrect, please email us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com or reach out to us at rewatcherspod on Twitter. Those are our two things. We should, I don't know. Is there what's the next social media thing we should add to our quiver?
Jeremy Renner app.
On the now defunct Jeremy Renner app, buy us some stars.
I should start an All Recipes account and post
You can find
recipes.
us on All Recipes, where we just reblog cherry pie recipes. But stay tuned. After the music, we'll talk a little bit about recommendations of some other stuff we're watching. But yeah, we will see you after these musical notes. Welcome to Rewatchers in the Lodge, recommendations section. We need
All the colons we recommend.
Give us an excuse to talk about what we watch.
recommendations. I recommend having one. It helps.
I recommend getting it checked if you're 45 or older.
Only from someone you trust, though.
Yeah.
I cannot
No
stress that
back
enough.
alley colonoscopies.
You can do it yourself if you really
Never
know how.
again.
Do not clip a coupon for Mr. Collins. Will not end well. To start us out of recommendations this week, Mitchell, what did you want to talk about this week? What have you been watching?
Man, I almost didn't watch anything new this week. I was mostly just watching some old shows because I was really busy. But I finally sat down and watched the Psych episode called Dual Spires, which is Twin Peaks inspired.
Yeah.
And I really loved it. I was already a big Psych fan. I kind of fell off towards the end. It's a little repetitive and you stop caring. But if you enjoy murder mysteries and also them making fun of murder mysteries, really fun, breezy, easy watch the show. It's on Hulu.
it beautiful?
No, wait, is it on Amazon Prime? It's on one of them. Might be on both. I don't know.
Well, I feel like also like referential for a very specific era of pop culture.
Yeah.
Like if you're, it's like very 80s centric, like cool references.
Full of
and
references,
shit
full
like
of
that.
like they're just having a good time. Dual Hill is awesome. James Roday is good. Like, he was made for that character.
Yeah.
He's done other stuff and been successful. I'm like, you're just going to be the Psych guy.
He's Sean Spencer, man.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah.
Is it an episode I could just jump? Because I'm not the biggest Psych fan, but is it one I could
You
just
could.
jump
Oh,
in without
absolutely, yeah.
having any back?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can jump into just about any. That's the
You don't need
beauty of that.
You really
procedural,
quickly
for
get
sure.
Sean Spencer zany and thinks he's psychic. His partner is the straight man, and then you have the detectives, one of which is a hard ass and one of which is like a sweet lady. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Corbin Burnson, which I'm so glad he has had a second win to his career. But I just want to talk about Dual Spiders a little bit. It's in season 5. It aired in 2010, which I think was important to me just to wonder like how far before this happened. Interesting. I was reading up on it. I'm pretty sure David Lynch has seen this episode and kind of liked it. But James Roday, who is the star, actually wrote and produced this episode as well, along with one of the normal writers, because he was the big Twin Peaks nerd. And actually, David Lynch's daughter directed later episodes of Psych. So
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
and I mean, and these are from written articles, so I mean, but they were from websites where you normally go read like recaps and things. So I think it's pretty reputable to say she had told him that the dad like kind of approved to at least whatever degree he can. But you get a lot of old faces showing up. It's interesting to think of who they tried to get and who ended up actually coming. James Roday is friends with the guy who played Bobby. I don't know any actor's name, so give that up. But he is the he's one of the main. He's probably the Twin Peaks person with the most screen time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a murder mystery. There's all these little hints. And he said mostly he wanted to focus on the first 15 episodes of Twin Peaks. And then at the very end, you kind of get some references to later. Like, there's just a diner scene that closes it out.
Yeah.
And there's a character you've already met in a red suit just doing the dance. The character who plays Lana, the really attractive or the one everyone falls in love with for before the pageant, who, by the way, on the same night I watched this, I watched an episode of Doogie Howser where that actress is the love interest of Doogie Howser. Yeah, I told you guys I was watching old stuff. And I was like, and I looked, it was like, oh, this chick acts like she's steadily worked since 1990.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's really fun. Audrey shows up.
Oh, yeah, she's the librarian, right?
She's the librarian.
Yeah.
She probably gets like the juiciest part. She almost feels like Megan Mullally, which not great, but like with enough Audrey mixed in there, it's really fun. And then who's the weird guy with the plants?
Harold Smith. Yeah.
Harold Smith is I believe the sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like it's called Dual Spires, and it's just this weird town. They're having a pie festival. They like don't believe in technology, which just gives them the excuse.
Yeah.
And yeah, it ends up being a murder mystery like any other, but the way they introduce them and the tongue-in-cheek stuff that you just wouldn't get. And I went back to read through to make sure I didn't miss any, and there were like 3 or 4 references, but like the newspaper's called The Great Northern, like all of their names are names of characters or they're worked into it. And so if you enjoy Twin Peaks, and again, you only have to have watched through I don't even think it spoils Laura Palmer's death, but you only have to really watch the beginning to get pretty much everything they're saying. And so if you already enjoy some of the quirkiness of Psych, I was worried that I was going to be underwhelmed, and I very much enjoyed it. And then looking at things afterwards, like I am so happy that the show was like, this is something we can do. Yeah. The two Sean Roday and then the show's creator each were like, one was like, I want to do a musical, and the other one was like, I want to do a Twin Peaks episode. So they let them both do it once the show was like at 100 episodes. They're like, all right, we got syndication, let's go.
Yeah, that's
so,
great.
Highly recommend it.
I will say the Ray Wise.
Oh yeah,
in that
he shows up.
Ray Wise is already a character on Psych, a priest actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so they call him for advice, and he has normal gray or like brown hair, and then he shows up in town and his hair's white. And he's just like, oh yeah, I just did this.
Good.
Yeah, it's new.
That's great.
NBD. Yeah, but Laura Palmer's in it. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else I'm missing. But
I definitely need to watch that.
Yeah,
that
fun.
sounds great.
It's a fun episode.
I overall recommend the show as like a laid back, fun show. But definitely, if you like Twin Peaks, you don't have to know the show. Like, go back and rewatch it just as like some tangential. Like, we're gonna directly. Tyler was talking about a Simpsons episode that references Twin Peaks. I'm like, I am seeing so many now. Not only is it influential, but it's directly done, and this is a full hour of it. So
yeah, it's great.
It's fun stuff.
Cool. Yeah, that's a fun episode. That's like, I think one of my favorite things to point people to after they watch
Yeah.
Twin Peaks. It's really great. Riley, do you want to talk about your recommendation for this week?
Yeah.
Because I know you spent a lot of time in Disneyland.
Yeah, I was at Disneyland the majority of the week.
Yeah.
Highly recommend going
Yeah, all
that
right,
week
all right.
because no one was there. It was amazing.
Yeah, we get it.
It's the perfect time to go.
I mean,
Yeah.
I understand you decided to balance out your chakras by then immediately after going to Disneyland, going and seeing It Too.
Yes. Yeah. How to balance it back, get back to
Yeah.
reality a little bit.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I think that if you
But what did you think of It Too?
hey,
I'm not even a dad. Go ahead.
I enjoyed it chapter 2. I think if you enjoyed the first one and if you enjoyed like the mini series, I think you'll enjoy the second one.
Series. What?
Yeah, I didn't know
Do you
there
not
was
know
a
about-
miniseries either.
Tim Curry?
Like the older.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
got
It was a
it. Yeah.
miniseries.
Sorry,
Oh,
I thought you were talking about something recent.
Same.
No.
Yeah.
So you are a big
That'd
fan
be
of the
cool.
first one, though, right?
Yeah, I
Okay,
loved
I haven't
the
seen
first
any
one.
of them. I heard it seems like the first one's kind of universally loved by everyone I've talked to.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard the best things about the second one. Is it as good? Is it better? Is it worse? Where do you put it?
I think
Is it
it's
satisfying that that's the continuation?
yeah, like I was satisfied at the end. I think that it's just really different from the first one, but I was expecting it because I had watched the old one. And so it wasn't like jarring to me that it wasn't as I don't know, it was just different.
Was it
than
the
first
same
one.
director?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
I liked
it's definitely, from what I've heard, very close to the source material.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it stays pretty true to that.
How true? Because the
Not that true.
all right.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's
No.
something not
That's
that
That
like-
part is not.
I'm really curious. Like, is that
Wait, what
treated?
part?
Is that explored at all?
No. No,
Okay.
not at
just
all.
not even at
Question.
all. Okay.
Lost.
As
So
it should
there's
not be.
there's a part in the book that is very disturbing, and it's
Is it
not in the
clown
movie.
rape?
It doesn't.
No.
How
it's
interested
just
are you in knowing for sure? Like, 'cause
Yeah,
it's
I
basically
wanna
like
know.
the resolution of how they defeat it.
Oh, we probably shouldn't
essentially.
say
I mean,
that.
kind of.
But no,
I mean,
It's
it's
I wanna
spoilers
know
for the
about
book.
that.
tell
which
me after,
gives
because I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
probably never going to get
It's
around
gross.
to any of
Yeah.
it material.
hey. I thought you were just gonna stop at it.
Oh,
But yeah, I think I think a lot of
smart.
people's complaints about this one are that it's not scary enough, and it's like, fuck you. First of all, who gives a shit? Go watch. There's a million dumbass bullshit horror movies for you to watch if that's what you want.
Netflix has all of them.
Yeah, I feel like this movie has a lot of pretty satisfying emotional moments, while also also being 40 minutes too long. I feel
Yeah,
like
it's
it's like
almost
240,
3 hours.
250.
It's 250. Yeah,
Woo!
2 hours
Wow.
and 50 minutes.
No movie needs to like The Irishman.
Oh, wow.
The Scorsese's next movie with all the de-aged famous. I'm like so stoked, but also it doesn't need to be 3.5 hours, my guy.
Yeah, I mean, Silence was
True,
getting there, and I
enjoyed
love
that,
every
yeah.
minute. Of
Oh,
Silence.
man. Silence feels like walking through mud.
Oh yeah,
We saw that in the theater. I was pretty riveted the whole time. I have
It
not
was an
watched it
incredible
since
experience. Yeah, no, it's seeing it in the theater was an
Yeah,
important
it was
experience
awesome.
for sure. But yeah, cool. But I enjoyed it. I still thought it was fun. It's one of those things where it's like it's just in the cultural zeitgeist now. Like people are gonna be talking about it and memeing about it for the next 10
yeah.
years. So it's fun to be on that train, whatever that is.
And Bill Hader is a treasure.
Bill Hader's great.
He's so
He
great.
is wonderful. I also saw it.
Yeah.
He is wonderful. I thought the movie was perfectly cast. All the adult
Yeah.
counterparts for
Yeah.
the children.
Especially
Sometimes
Eddie too. I feel like
I
he's
thought-
I love
almost
so
all of
fantastic.
them were so good.
Yeah.
So crazy. Like even how they look, like the way their faces look.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck? Are
Yeah.
these guys related?
We were talking about the
Stanley.
older Stanley.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like, holy
yeah.
He
shit,
looks
is this
just
just this
like the
kid's
kid.
older brother? 'Cause
Yeah.
fuck. Yeah.
Crazy.
He looks incredibly like him. Yeah, cool. Marcus, did you have anything else?
I do.
Other recommendations? Cool.
Yeah.
Let's
so
go into
other
those.
than It Chapter 2, which I thought was entertaining, both the It movies haven't really been my cup of tea. I don't really like horror movies.
I think you're the first person I've heard not love it.
Really?
Especially number 1 and 2. It hasn't been mixed. It's literally been like, I'm satisfied. It's good. It didn't surpass.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah. I think they're entertaining. I don't know what it is about them. They're just not really for me. But if you enjoy the first, you're going to enjoy this one.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
I will say there's a lot of like interesting metaphor and stuff to explore in
Yes.
it. And if you want to watch someone do that with fists made of hammers in the most not subtle way possible, that's what these movies do.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that was extremely heavy-handed, and now I'm watching another scene of them explaining that to me. Like, fuck. Ugh. So it's definitely heavy-handed, I think, but I don't know. Whatever, it's fun. Anyway, sorry, I am just hijacking everyone's
No, it's
recommendations.
okay.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
I agree. I watched something called The Pyramid Code on Netflix, which
I've
This
seen it
sounds
recommended.
amazing.
oh man,
Does it have to do with a dollar bill?
no,
It's in the documentary section. Please tell me that.
It is.
Oh,
It is, yeah.
fuck yeah.
It
Okay,
is,
I'm so excited
and
to hear about this.
God damn, it is so interesting, and I have been annoying my friends and family this entire week just because I've just been talking about that only.
Nice.
It is I think there are people out there who think these kinds of things are ridiculous. But it's just kind of a documentary. I think it was made a while back. I think maybe 2006. About the ancient Egyptians and the pyramids, and a lot of theories about what the pyramids could have been used for, and it talks a little bit about ancient Egyptian society. I really love kind of just like studying ancient cultures, and there's so much mystery and so much we don't know.
Did it get into the lizard people at all?
No, all right. This is factual stuff.
Who
all
does
right?
it say built the pyramids?
Hey.
But like for me, like it's just so
That's a
interesting
gravestone here.
how like I don't know, the pyramids have been around for thousands of years, and we kind of still don't completely understand how they've been built or what they're used for. And this kind of explores some of the possibilities.
It's called the Pyramid Scheme?
the Pyramid Code.
Okay, I want to watch it.
You guys,
No, that's doTERRA.
who I work for.
Did you see
We're sponsoring our
for
podcast.
now.
Thank you.
Did you ever see that video of that
Here
guy a
gets
couple years
it.
ago on Reddit who just waited for security to look the other way and he just booked it up Giza pyramid? Like,
No.
I remember
because it's just
I
like
remember
it's just
that.
steps, and so he's just
Yeah.
speed booking it up. He gets to the top and you can see all the security at the bottom just freaking out, and he just sits there up there for a while with his GoPro, then goes down and gets arrested.
And he's
Good for
never
him.
been seen since then, huh?
Has
he
he-
just disappeared.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard anything about him. So
Oh, man.
But man, it's if any of that sounds interesting to you, go and watch it immediately.
Okay, cool.
Because it is fascinating.
Yeah, this actually sounds really cool. When it was first pitched to me, I feel like I immediately filled it in with like, cool, I'm gonna get 20% history and 80% outrageous just theories about
Yeah, that's what I...
like
Aliens.
that they shot electrical currents through them and summoned Satan or something like that. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
this
Like,
isn't one of those terrible
Okay.
History Channel documentaries
Okay.
where like you see pyramids floating in space and
Right.
aliens and stuff. It's a little more fact based,
Cool.
but it is a lot of theory.
Yeah.
Just because I guess at the time, I don't know how it is now. There is you can't do a lot of research on the pyramids. You're not allowed to. They won't allow you.
Cool.
But man, I legitimately want to watch it again.
Cool.
Because it's really cool. I really like educational sort of things like that. So I'm also going to recommend a couple YouTube channels.
Cool.
This one's probably pretty well known, but Vsauce. If you ever watch Vsauce, super interesting scientific stuff, like sociology stuff. Really great videos. Go watch those. The dude also has a series called Minefield, which is on YouTube Premium. Really cool stuff. And oh man, I don't even know how to pronounce this channel. I think it's called Kurzgesagt.
Sounds right.
But they do a lot of educational videos as well, and the animation is really beautiful, and it's all very. They talk very scientifically, but also existentially about kind of different questions about the universe and things like that.
Their
So,
video,
go check them out.
Their video from this last week was kind of strayed pretty far from that too. When
Yes.
they did the egg, the short story. I can't remember who the author is.
The
but
guy who wrote The Martian, what's his name?
Andy Weir.
Andy Weir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So they did. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. That was a fun morning for me.
Cool.
But
And
great
that was Pyramid Code on Netflix.
The Pyramid
That's what's
Code
called?
on Netflix.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Tyler. What
yeah,
do
I
you
got a
have to
lot. I
recommend
watched
us?
2 of Mitchell's recommendations.
Oh, no.
I watched that Dave Chappelle special
Okay.
that everyone's talking about,
Oh, man.
and that's fun. It's actually really good. I mean, I understand why people are up in arms about it. It's just because of the climate we live in that fucking sucks. But I would say I recommend it to anyone unless you take stand-up comedy as quotable ammo for political arguments. Then you shouldn't watch it if you're one of those types of people. But if you're just like into good comedy and especially like really like raunchy, pushing the edge kind of offensive comedy, but not Anthony Jeselnik level, right? Then yeah, it's actually a really good stand-up. That opening joke is
incredible,
phenomenally structured.
Yeah. I feel like the structure of his last few stand-ups have been they're just things that are unlike any stand-up I've ever seen.
Yeah, he opens with an Epstein joke and then transitions to what you think is no longer part of the joke and then brings it back and you're like, holy shit, that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really good. I watched all of The Boys on Amazon.
Wow.
It's only 8 episodes.
Okay.
And yeah, I recommend it. I really, really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. Those really hooked me. Then it kind of like faltered for about 3 episodes, and then it didn't go where I wanted it to go for the last few, but they were enjoyable and they paid off for me.
Cool.
They're definitely betting on a second season.
They started shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they are. Where it ends, it's like it's not satisfying. It's like,
well, because it doesn't go where I want it to go, but I didn't think it was predictable where it went. It kind of keeps getting darker, but not in a way that turns you off. Like sometimes shows do it for the sake of doing it, which I was really weird at. And maybe there's a couple of key things that they just did for gratuity's sake, but for the most part, I was just like, I love how demented it got.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, I was kind of shocked how heavy it didn't go because of how much I've heard about how like edgy it's supposed to be or whatever. But like, I don't know. To me, they tackle a lot of like, hot subjects currently right now, and I think what I like about those first 2 episodes is the way they handle those, and those feels they don't get too preachy about it. It's just here's the events that are happening. Like, I mean, they obviously have an opinion on it, but it's not like, I don't know. They handle it very well. It's not, they don't dwell too much on it. It doesn't subvert the story at all. It just keeps going. I don't feel that. I feel they handle some of them a little too heavy-handedly once you get into those next 3, and just with the, I don't know, I guess the graphic nature of it, I feel like it's handled in a way that we haven't seen yet too much. It's not full. It's not like to the level of something like Batman vs Superman or even like Watchmen on a level of like the dark gritty superhero. But it's also not quite as goofy and fourth wall breaking as like Deadpool. It kind of finds a nice medium area that is really enjoyable.
I think the world they keep it in, and like literally it's not lit. The show is not lit to be super dark most of the time. And the time you spend with these characters, because you're dealing with PR, you're dealing with like the real, like a business, and then kind of someone's more personal story that has to do with the superhero business. Like the way they try and ground it, that worked so much better for me than something like Titans or the Umbrella Academy, where you have super people and you're trying to look into their lives. And while they're completely different artistic styles, this story I'm much more willing to hang with than a lot of the other gritty dark stuff or pseudo dark superhero crap we've gotten lately.
No, I agree. I think it's a really great cast too. I think they cast it really well.
They did. Yeah.
But yeah, I watched that. I watched a lot of stuff over the past 2 weeks. I'm kind of blending some because I didn't finish some of those things. Deja and Boys. What was the other thing? Oh, I did finally get around to knocking another old movie off my list. I finally watched Taxi Driver.
Oh, cool.
If you haven't seen the Martin Scorsese film, it's really good. It was really controversial at the time for a couple of reasons, but it's really good. It's also it kind of weirdly in that same vein of Dave Chappelle. It's kind of like I can recommend it for most people.
Yeah.
It deals with some subject matter that there's some people I hope don't watch it because I know they'll interpret it the wrong way. One of the reasons it was controversial is someone did interpret it the wrong way and kind of committed a copycat crime in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where Martin Scorsese was apparently questioning, am I going to continue making films because of this? Which is an interesting thing to then go research and think about with the movie and just kind of think about the effects of art and what that has on society.
Yeah.
And then there was one other.
Sorry, I just want to mention Jodie Foster in that movie, and Harvey Keitel in that movie play really incredible characters. And
Yeah, Harvey Keitel threw me off because
Yeah.
it's very different. Because you hear he's in a Scorsese film, you're like, oh, I know exactly what character he's playing, but you don't. You don't.
Yeah. I will also say, Taxi Driver is probably one of my favorite Scorsese movies, partially because I feel like it's probably like right after he'd learned a bunch of filmmaking rules, and then sometimes was just like, fuck it. I'm going to do a weird shot of, while this man's talking, I'm just going to cut to a shot of his hands going over a table, which I don't know why. It's stuck in my mind. It's like one of the most strikingly, like, weird shots in that movie, but yeah, I really love that. And there's also Rancid wrote a song about it, so it's good.
Yeah, there's a lot you can dig into with that movie, which is really cool, dude. Particularly the last 15 minutes of it.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah, and then there was one other thing I watched, and I can't remember what it was for the life of me. Maybe that was it. I'm slowly just starting to knock off movies. I started Seven Samurai again. I'm gonna finish it this week.
Nice.
and then I'll get it back to you.
I'm excited to hear what you think about it.
I've seen the first half of it like 4 times. I still haven't.
Oh, it's so
and
good.
not because I haven't wanted to. I've just
great,
never gotten around to having the time to do it. Something always comes up. So
it's a very good movie.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. Justin, what did you have first?
So this week, just first off, real quick, again, another recommendation. My wife and I finally sat down to continue watching the newest season of Glow. I've mentioned this I don't know how many times, but
I thought you'd finished it last.
No,
time
I started it and then took a big break, and I think we've got 2 or 3 episodes left now. We'll probably finish them in the next couple days.
This is basically a Shadow Glow podcast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
So
it's fantastic. So another recommendation there, and then 2 other movies that I watched this week by the esteemed Devil May Cry writer Alex Garland.
Like of the video game?
Yeah, he's a writer on Devil May Cry 2013.
The good one. Not that
The
good.
DMC?
Especially the writing is not very good.
Is that the one we're talking about? The
Yeah,
one where, that everyone got mad about?
Did you guys ever play that? Have you guys played Devil May Cry?
I watched the opening
played it.
cutscene for it. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
Is that the part where he's flying through the air in slow motion and he has the previous Devil May Cry protagonist's hair on, and he just looks in the mirror and he's like, no, and rips it off. It's so
No,
it's the dumbest
I don't
bullshit.
even think he's in the scene I watched. It was like the big dude, and then someone gets killed, and they try and frame it on the maid or something. I don't remember.
So bad. Okay. Anyways, let's talk about Alex Garland.
So I watched Annihilation, and I also watched Ex Machina.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good.
Oh man, those are
Yeah.
2 heavy hitters.
I watched Annihilation first one night, and then the following night I was like, hey, Ex Machina's on Netflix as well. Or Annihilation's on Amazon Prime right now. And then I watched Ex Machina. I liked Annihilation more than I liked Ex Machina, but I felt like they were both very different, and this is kind of, I think Mitchell mentioned this earlier, how you're seeing Twin Peaks stuff like everywhere now. Yeah. I looked up a review. I was just like, after I watched Ex Machina, no, it was after I watched Annihilation, I was reading some stuff online about it, and there was a review written by somebody, and they referenced, the line was something like, they had an issue with the movie, and they were like, it wasn't as blatant as a man wearing a neon green suit coat, and it was a link to a review that they had previously written about The Return. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I really liked both of them. I understand why they're so kind of hit or miss for a lot of people, especially Annihilation. I think if you go into it with expectations that you are just going to go and see kind of like this mystery movie, like trying to figure out what this mysterious alien stuff is, like, then you're probably going to be disappointed, because that's not what this movie is about.
It's kind of almost the opposite. Is the message of that film, I feel like.
Yeah.
The last 20 minutes of that movie are unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just basking in the what the fucks of people around me in the theater, like, gave me strength. It felt so good. So people would be like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, I don't know, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's I loved, and I couldn't stop thinking about from the moment she says annihilation to the end of the movie. I could not stop thinking about that sequence for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's how I've been too. It's both films have been just running in my head this whole week. Like different messages, obviously, for both of them. Different things you can take away from both of them. I think Annihilation probably is a bit stronger in the sense that there's more. Depending on what you're going into it with, you can get different stuff out of it. Ex Machina has a little bit more of a focused message that it's trying to say. But Annihilation, I'm reading Reddit threads about people thinking this movie's about cancer or this movie's about all this other stuff. Tons of different theories and everybody's reading it in their own way. And I think that's a really good indication that there's something great there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like both those movies say something about humanity at large. That really get under your skin in a way, and they're really great.
I think both kind of give uncomfortable answers too. At least that's how I interpret them.
Sure.
They're not very optimistic. I think.
Yeah,
that humanity is obsolete almost in both cases. Yeah, well, fuck.
But at the same, I don't know. At the same time, there still kind of is this human grounding to them as well. That maybe I shouldn't say they're not very optimistic. Maybe that's not true. I don't know, because it's very human, and I feel like that's a good thing. So
yeah, those are great. Cool. So I got a couple recommendations this week. The first one, I just have to say this because I mentioned this to Justin and Gwen a few weeks ago. There's a delightful video game from 2009 called Deadly Premonition that is basically
it's getting a sequel.
I saw this.
Oh my gosh, it's the greatest day of my life. I wish I had recorded my reaction to seeing this happen because I was like, holy shit. I was literally about to dig out my PS3. Now I'm just going to download it on my Nintendo Switch. Deadly Premonition is made by one of Japan's most eccentric video game personalities, probably Swery, and it is basically just he watched Twin Peaks once and was like, I can fucking make a dope video game out of this. And Resident Evil 4 just came out, so it's going to be survival horror, but also you have unlimited ammo, and it's kind of a pseudo open world where you drive around the world's worst car, and
I played the opening level at your house, and
oh my gosh, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's something else.
Here's the thing. It's a bad game, and everyone should play it. It is amazing. And they're making a sequel, which is the most Twin Peaks-ass thing you could do with a game that was released to middling reviews 10 years ago.
Is it a Switch exclusive, too?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh my
That's
God.
crazy.
I've tried, I think, 2 other Swery games. I haven't ever completed them. I did Killer is Dead, and...
That's Suda51.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm mixing them up now.
Swery is Deadly Premonition. He did that Connect game, Dark Dreams Don't Die. Most recently,
Xbox Connect?
Yeah, Xbox One Connect exclusive that I played on a Connect.
Referred to on the streets as D4.
Yeah, D4. Episode 1. We're not seeing any more of that shit. And the most recent one is called The Missing...
maybe I haven't played it. I thought he did Let It Die, too, for some reason.
Oh, was he involved in Let It Die? He might have been involved in Let It Die. I think that's true.
Which was intriguing, but the gameplay just was unplayable.
Yeah. Uncle Death, is that his name?
Yeah, something like
Uncle
that.
Death's fucking great. Anyways, that's my Twin Peaks thing. I'm replaying it again. It's awful, and I love it. The other thing, so I actually watched a bunch of movies this week. I do want to talk about, I just watched a movie today called True Stories, which is a movie that David Byrne directed in 1986, who is the lead singer of the Talking Heads.
Writing that shit down.
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
starring John Goodman. It's on the Criterion Channel right now. They just re-released it on Blu-ray a little while ago. But it's basically the story. It's David Byrne basically is this narrator talking directly to you, the audience, about Irving, Texas, and him just being like, here's the whole history of this town, and they're having a big talent show at the end of the week that we're going to go to. And it just kind of is this peek into a bunch of people's lives, and then the story kind of centers around John Goodman, who is this delightful, quirky character that just wants to get married. And it's all about... He has this whole thing about online dating and how he got set up with some poor matches. It's just a really delightful movie. If you like David Byrne's sensibility, like if you've ever watched Talking Heads live and like that weird, bizarre theatrical sense that David Byrne brings to those shows, it's a really great movie. I really love it. I think it's really fun.
What's it called again?
True Stories. So, but yeah, that's great. The other thing I'm going to recommend is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and this week I'm going to see SLC Punk in theaters, which is it's a movie that I really love. But I just want to recommend going to a screening of an old movie in an actual theater. It's something that I have not done enough over my lifetime, but the times I have gone, specifically, I went and saw Godfather 1 and 2 like 4 years ago in theaters, and it was incredible. And then also we saw Clueless. I've seen Clueless in Wayne's World in theaters, which are movies that I grew up watching a ton. And the experience of going and seeing a movie that you have only watched on VHS 37 times when you were 9 or 10 is incredible. It's so much fun. But yeah, Fathom is doing this great series at the end of this year. Every month they're doing a show or doing a movie. And I believe, I can't remember what September's is. I think it already passed. But
It was Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh,
and I really wanted to go see it.
That's like on my list of things. I don't want to watch that movie until I'm in a theater. I feel like.
It already passed.
Damn it.
I'm super
I
bummed.
remember seeing the trailer for that at some movie. Or it was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think.
Oh,
and
okay.
that played.
Yeah.
The trailer for that played before, and someone in the theater was like, "That's a movie? What is that?" I'm like, "You
Oh my
uncultured
God.
slut!" Like,
But yeah, the next 2 months are really
and
great.
I haven't seen it. But
You
should know.
The next 2 months are really great, and I'm definitely going to be going. In October, they're going to be showing Alien, which I
That could
cannot
be
wait
pretty
to see
cool.
that in theaters.
I'll go with you.
Cool. Yeah.
I'll go because I have never seen the original.
Oh
Alien.
god,
I haven't
yeah, you
either.
definitely need to come.
I need to
Alien's
see it.
great.
Yeah.
So that, and then in November they're doing Godfather Part 2, which is great because Godfather Part 2 has an intermission built into it. And if you've never gone to a movie that has an intermission where the lights come back up and you just hang out and mill around with other theater patrons for a while, you should definitely do it because it's really fun.
yeah, I've only seen Godfather 1. I've never seen any of the others. So
You need to see 2, yeah. I mean, 3, you can see at your leisure.
I've heard
but
3 is
definitely
not
see 2.
good from
Yeah.
a lot of people.
It's, I don't know. You've seen 3, right?
I've
You've
heard
watched all 3
it.
of them?
Yeah. When I watched it, I thought it was actively bad,
Yeah.
and then
It's-
I was like, was I not paying attention? Because I did just watch it like pretty casually. But
there's some extreme miscasting going on in
Yes.
Godfather Part 3. Sophia Coppola, wonderful director.
don't
Don't want to see in front of it ever again. But yeah, that's what I recommend. So yeah, but yeah, next week we're gonna watch Part 8 of Twin Peaks, and count it as kind of we'll count it as our midpoint for this season, and kind of explore where we're at and kind of what we feel about what's going on. But yeah, until then, signing off. I'm Tyler Harris.
Marcus Marinos.
Riley Harris.
Tyler McKinley.
Mitchell Marshall.
Justin Hammer.
Fuck you, Gene Kelly, you motherfucker.